Welcome to Red Story. Please subscribe and leave a comment if you enjoy the plot. Part 1. The beginning of the betrayal. This incident dates back to 14 years ago when I was still in high school. We were a close-knit group of three, me, Emily, and Tom, ages 17, 17, and 18. Back then, Tom had to repeat a year when his parents moved back to the States from Prague, so we three were in the same class. More than friends, we were like family. Our fathers were best friends. While my dad and Emily's dad settled here after college, Tom's father moved to Prague for work, but they returned when Tom was 7. Emily and I had known each other since we were in diapers, and Tom joined our friendship when we were 6 and he was 7, so we had known each other forever. Emily, Tom, and I pledged to be lifelong friends just like our parents. Tom and I started dating when I was 15. It wasn't just a teenage fling. We dated for 2 years and it felt serious. At least I thought it was, and he pretended that it was 2. We planned on enrolling in the same college and then getting married. People used to call Emily the third wheel, but in reality, Emily and I were so close that Tom joked he felt like he was the one third wheel in between us. Perhaps I was the extra wheel. I'll get to that eventually. When we were 17, Emily got pregnant. She was so terrified that she locked herself in the school's washroom. I was horrified too when I saw those 2 pink lines. I asked her who the father was, but she didn't say anything, just cried and dreaded her parents' reaction. She tested it twice in front of me, and I suggested she see a doctor before telling her parents. I took her to the doctor, and her pregnancy was confirmed. She was so scared of her parents that she kept it hidden for almost a month. That month was tough for me as well. I brought her supplements, ensured she had proper meals, got her snacks and juices, and lent her a shoulder to cry on. She confided in me about her fear, anxiety, and uncertainty, and I was her only support. Yet she was not willing to reveal the father's name. Despite her secrecy, I supported her through all means. Finally, I convinced her to speak to her parents before it became evident. She asked me to be with her when she told them, and I agreed. Part 2. The shocking discovery. When she revealed to her parents that she was pregnant, they were devastated. They called my parents to share their distress. Emily still didn't reveal the father's name, and she cried so profusely that my parents asked hers to give her time to confide in them. 2 days later, my mom suddenly told me not to visit Emily so often, suggesting I focus on my studies rather than being a babysitter to my friend. This restriction was strange, as my mom had always been protective of Emily. A week later, I found out why she was asking me to stay away from Emily. It wasn't to protect me, but to protect herself. That evening, I randomly showed up at Emily's house and found Tom there with his parents. Both Emily and Tom were crying, and my parents were there too. As soon as my mother saw me, she rushed over and asked me to go home. I asked her what was going on, but she said it was none of my business. Seeing me, Tom and Emily looked shocked, and I instantly understood what was happening. I screamed at them, "The baby is Tom's. You both were fooling around behind my back." They rushed to me, trying to explain, but I cut them off, saying no explanation. The truth is out in the open. My boyfriend and my best friend are hooking up behind my back, and now my best friend is having his baby. My parents dragged me out because I was screaming so loudly. I came home and locked myself up, crying for days, curled up in bed. It was beyond heartbreaking. I had trusted Emily blindly and supported her by all means during tough times, while she was secretly involved with my boyfriend. The worst part was that everyone was so occupied with caring for the would-be mother that no one even considered my pain. Part 3. The aftermath and estrangement. Surely Emily and Tom tried to reach out to me, but I slammed the door in their faces and blocked them on all social media. It was understandable that Emily's and Tom's parents were more concerned about the pregnancy than my heartbreak, but even my parents showed little empathy. My mom kept telling me to get over it, even suggesting that I should be happy about becoming an aunt to the baby. She seemed delusional, expecting me to rejoice over a betrayal so deep. My sister, who was 15 at the time and dating Emily's brother, also took Emily's side. When I cried to her, she told me I should have guessed that Tom was the father since we were always together. She, too, preached that I should move on and not ruin our family's relationship with theirs. It felt like everyone had abandoned me. School became unbearable. Tom and Emily had dropped out. Tom couldn't handle the bullying, and Emily left for obvious reasons. I had no friends besides them, and everyone knew I had been dating Tom, who then got Emily pregnant. My family was more concerned about maintaining their friendship with Emily's and Tom's parents than about my feelings. My dad was somewhat better, checking in on me occasionally, but my mom was the worst. She would bring homemade cookies to Emily while I cried alone in my room. She belittled my feelings and made jokes about finding me a better boyfriend. As Emily's pregnancy progressed, my condition worsened. It was painful to see Tom taking her for walks, checkups, and dates, while my family asked me to look away and move on. They were constantly engaged in conversations about the baby, referring to themselves as the would-be grandparents. If Emily were having a baby with anyone else, I might have shared their happiness, but not in this situation. Part 4. Running away and starting over. My mental state deteriorated to the point that on the day of my final exams in high school, I packed my bags and ran away from home. I had been planning it ever since the news of the pregnancy came out. I had saved up money by selling all my books, comics, gadgets, watches, and whatever little jewelry I owned. I told my family I was going on a trek with friends, and they were so fed up with my sulking that they didn't ask questions and just said, "Sure, have fun." I left home and never looked back. I moved to the next town, lived in a hostel, and waited tables to make a living. It was stressful and uncertain, but I felt much better than being at home. After a month, my parents started trying to contact me, asking when I would return. I had changed my number, so they emailed me, but I blocked them there too. They used other people's email IDs to reach out, so I told my sister I wasn't coming back and asked them to stop contacting me. Living alone wasn't easy, but eventually, I found my way. I waited tables for 2 years and took a receptionist job for another year, and eventually landed a sales job that I held for 3 years. During that time, I met my husband, a marketing guy who also had a troubled family history. We connected over our shared experiences, and after a year of knowing each other, he offered to fund my college education, which I could pay back later. He wanted me to do better in life. Part 5. Reconciliation and New Discoveries. I accepted his offer and went to college working part-time to cover other expenses. I studied accounting and landed a decent-paying job after graduation. On my first day after work, my husband proposed to me, and we got married a year later. We now have a son, and life is good. A month ago, we went to Disneyland, where we unexpectedly bumped into my sister, who was there with her family. She had married Emily's brother and had a son with him. The moment was surreal as I hugged my sister and her son, and we both cried. She told me she hated me for ghosting her, and that she and her husband had apologized for not supporting me enough back then. I suggested we let the past stay in the past and enjoy the trip together as a family. We had a wonderful time and exchanged contacts. My sister asked me to promise to stay in touch, and I agreed. She later told her mom about our encounter, and soon after, my mom asked for my number. I was unsure about reconnecting with her, but my husband advised me to make peace with my family and move on, so I gave the green light. Just an hour later, I received a call from my mom. She was sobbing, apologizing for everything and asking to meet her grandchild. She insisted that I visit home with my family. Well, I haven't said yes or no, I'm thinking about what to do. During our conversation, my sister showed me pictures of her children and accidentally scrolled to a family picture that included Emily and Tom. She told me that Emily and Tom got married 4 years after I left and had 2 more boys. I smiled and said nothing, though she seemed eager to share more. Part 6. Uncovering the Truth. After much contemplation, I decided to meet my family. My parents hugged me and cried, apologizing for neglecting my feelings. It was a bittersweet moment. My sister and her husband, Emily's brother, also apologized and asked me to stay in touch. It was nice to reconnect with everyone. We had all grown up together like a family. My younger brother, who was 10 when I left, is now married and has a 2-month-old baby. It felt good to hold and play with my nieces and nephews. We went for a 2-day trip, and while the first day was emotional and beautiful, the second day took a turn. As I was casually chatting with my sister, my mom came in and remarked, "Steve, I told you you would find a better man than Tom, and you did. You unnecessarily blew up the entire situation." My sister tried to stop her, but she continued, "Oh, that's okay, Lisa. She's over her past now. Look how happy she's in her life." I responded, "Surely I am." Then she sat beside me and said, "Then why not make peace with the past? Forgive everyone and move on." I replied that I had made peace with the past and forgiven everyone, but she clarified that she meant forgiving Emily and Tom. She wanted me to forgive them, start talking to them again, and hang out as a family like before. I was taken aback and asked why she wanted me to do that. I told her that she and the rest of the family had already hung out with them without me. She said it embarrassed them that I didn't talk to Emily and Tom, especially since their children were so nice to my parents. I reminded her that her other 2 children, my brother and sister, were nice to her friends, and she should be content with that. Part 7. A Shocking Revelation. She continued to insist that I forgive Emily and Tom, but I firmly refused, telling her it was none of her business. She then started preaching about the importance of forgiveness. She even suggested that Emily wanted to meet my husband and me, asking if she could invite them for dinner. I warned her that if she did, I would leave and never return. My siblings were also upset with my mom for telling Emily about my visit. In her defense, my mom claimed that Emily's dad had seen me through the window and might have told Emily, leading her to call my mom and request a reconciliation. I was furious at this excuse and stormed off to my room. My sister followed me, expressing her frustration with our mom's strange obsession with Emily's family. She mentioned that during a rough patch in her marriage, our mom had insisted that she adjust to avoid ruining the friendship with Emily's family. Reflecting on the past, we realized our mom had always favored Emily and her brother more than us. At the time, we didn't complain because Emily was my best friend and her brother was my sister's boyfriend. After this conversation, we returned home, but I couldn't shake off the uneasy feeling. Last week, my husband showed me a video of a middle-aged couple making out at a bar. To my shock, it was none other than my mom and Emily's dad. My mom's obsession with maintaining a good relationship with them suddenly made sense. They had been having an affair for years. Part 8. The Fallout. My husband had recorded the video because he knew I wouldn't believe him without proof. After seeing it, I felt like I was choking. I needed to talk to someone, so I called my sister and asked her to come over. She sensed the urgency and rushed over. When I showed her the video, she was equally shocked. We decided not to tell her husband yet, fearing how he might react. In our desperation, we told our brother, hoping he might have a better idea of how to handle the situation. But as soon as he saw the video, he lost it. He went straight to our mom and confronted her in front of our dad. At first, she denied everything, but when he showed her the video, she couldn't lie anymore. Our brother told us he had always resented our mom for favoring Emily and her brother, and now it all made sense. He had hated us growing up because of our closeness with that family, but as he got older, he understood it. What he couldn't understand was why our mom seemed so obsessed with them. Our dad was devastated when he saw the video. He teamed up with Emily's mom to confront my mom and Emily's dad. It was revealed that they had been having an affair for over 25 years right under our noses. Our dad tried to hold it together for the family, but he eventually broke down and showed up at my door crying like a baby. He said he finally understood the pain I must have felt when Tom cheated on me with Emily. Part 9. The Consequences. Our dad called a family meeting and informed us that he couldn't forgive our mom and live with her anymore. He was proceeding with a divorce and he wanted us to know. We all supported him, understanding his decision. When our mom found out, she pleaded with him for one last chance, but my sister gave her a piece of her mind, telling her off for all the pain she had caused. In the end, our dad served my mom with divorce papers and moved out. Emily's parents went through a similar situation, with her mom filing for divorce as well. Now my mom and Emily's dad are both alone, and they might just move in together. Who knows? Maybe they've been waiting for this all along. I'm done with the drama. I have my own family to care for, and these divorces have been especially hard on my sister, as both sides of her family are affected. She's going through a tough time, and I hope her marriage survives this rough patch. As for me, I'm focusing on my own life and my family. Thanks for all the support.